Alright, so we were supposed to be taking the month off and focusing on showing off our top 5 episodes of the year, and then we were going to come back with new episodes in 2021. But apparently there was one thing that could bring us back early, and that was the Mandalorian season finale. Y'all want to talk about it?
Yeah.
Then let's get the conversation started. Hello and welcome to LexiCon. It is Maddie along with
Lexi.
Dylan.
And as I said, we had not planned to do another new episode this year, but we also hadn't planned on that season finale. Chapter 16 of The Mandalorian was something else, to be sure. Well,
Yes.
I mean, it was another episode of The Mandalorian, but still. We're still counting down our top 5 episodes of the year, so keep an eye out for that on our social media, and also we're uploading them to YouTube as we reveal them.
Yeah.
So we haven't abandoned that, and we're still hoping to have a special little surprise when we reveal the final episode in that countdown. But I felt like this was something we just needed to talk about. I mean, in our little corner of the pop culture galaxy, this felt like a really big deal.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of people are talking about it, and I just wanted to be part of the conversation.
I agree.
To be fair, I haven't gone and listened to what a lot of people are saying yet. I've seen a couple of minor reviews of the episode.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to hear too much reaction until I got to share my thoughts, because I didn't want them clouded at all by what anybody else is saying.
Yeah.
Which is not to say that, I hear somebody else's opinion and that's going to change mine, but you can't help but imbibe a little bit of what you see in here. So I wanted to be as raw as I could be on this episode, because I have a lot of thoughts that I want to share. I don't know about you two, but
Same.
I haven't been able to get this episode off my mind since we watched it last night. It's only been about 24 hours since we've seen it, and this has consumed my thoughts for the past day.
Nice.
I think we'll try a little bit of spoiler-free here at the beginning, although it's only a 35-40 minute episode, so there's not a ton I think we can get into. It's not like a 2-hour movie where we can do a real good long spoiler-free section and then get into the spoilers, but we will give our initial thoughts off top. And then if you don't want to have it spoiled for you, if you haven't seen it yet, of course you can come check back in with us later. I'll put time cues in because I might want to touch on the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special, which is another little bit of Star Wars stuff we've seen over the last few days.
Yes.
But Mandalorian is definitely going to be the focus. So, getting into it, it was a good episode of The Mandalorian.
Definitely.
Very good.
Certainly.
Have we had a bad one?
No, but some have definitely been better than others.
Yeah.
And this would be in the upper half, I would say.
Yeah.
For the most part. Actually, I think it was a really good episode, other than one small, maybe not even 1% of it, maybe 0.5% of it. It's really made it sort of divisive to me. Made me feel very unsure about my overall feelings on the episode, because I really did like most of it, and there was one section in particular that I absolutely loved, and y'all know I loved, and you would understand why I loved it, and I'll go into more detail during the spoiler section, but that alone should have made this a huge thumbs up episode for me. But there was just one very small portion of it that tempered that excitement for me, that made me feel a little ambivalent toward the episode and unsure exactly how I felt about it. But again, we'll get more into that in the spoiler section. As far as just being an episode of The Mandalorian, I definitely think it's in probably the upper half of the episode. Even without that sort of qualification that I tried to give there, it still probably wouldn't be my favorite episode. I think I'd still put the season finale of season 1 over it, which I still think is probably the absolute best piece of Star Wars media since Rogue One.
Lol.
And I think the episode, not the episode before this, although that would compete for best episode too, but when Ben Burt, is that his name?
I don't know.
No, Bill Burr. Bill Burr came back as the former associate of Man. I thought that was a really that was a really good episode, and it was actually the only Grogu-free episode, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Which didn't make it a great episode or a bad episode. It's just a footnote. But I thought it was a really outstanding episode. Still, the first season's finale is my favorite, and probably the episode where we really got Boba Fett back for real, where he got back into his armor and everything. The one that Robert Rodriguez directed, and Kevin's former cinematographer, David Klein, shot. That's probably my second favorite episode. I didn't like the way that one ended with Grogu getting kidnapped by Moff Gideon's Death Troopers.
Yeah.
But I also knew, hey, there's 2 more episodes in the season. They're probably going to get him back.
Probably.
That's probably what we're leading to. So I felt like there was a fair amount of hope. So I didn't love the finish there, but that was a really, really good episode. So this would be at best 3rd best for me. Probably 4th best. Again, if you took out the parts that I'm having the issue with, it might slide up into 2nd.
But it's still not.
And potentially could leap up into 1st, just because that one sequence is so good for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a good episode. I did think parts of the episode felt kind of rushed.
Yeah.
But you understand kind of where they're going and why it felt that way, because obviously they're building towards something that you didn't expect.
Yeah.
I don't think that's too much of a spoiler. Like,
No.
it seems like they're heading toward an obvious conclusion, and then they sort of veer off a little bit, so you see, okay, that's why they had to kind of rush into that, because they're getting to, the third act.
Yeah, there were a couple moments that were kind of odd and whatnot, but I definitely agree with you on that in the moment I believe you're talking about.
But see, it's not even so much the rush feeling, because like I say, the more you watch, and even leading up to it, you kind of get, okay, this feels kind of rushed, but I think I know where they're going. Not, you don't know where the plot's going to lead, but you realize they're leading towards something different than what you expected.
Yeah.
But the episode almost felt kind of clunky. There were several points where there was and I'll get into specifics again in the spoiler section, where there were just cuts here that felt unnatural.
Yeah, there were one or two.
For the most part, the episode looked and sounded great, and it was well acted and well performed and well choreographed and well everything else. But there were just a few moments where it just wasn't as polished as the rest of the episodes. And I'm not sure if that was by design or what happened there exactly, or maybe I'm just being nitpicky. But so for a multitude of reasons, I wouldn't say it's the best episode, but it's definitely a must watch if you're a fan of Star Wars at all, and certainly if you're a fan of the series, it's a must watch.
I agree.
And it's certainly an episode that's going to get everybody talking, which I'm sure it has, which is why we're sitting here doing an episode when we didn't plan to.
Yeah.
What are some of your guys' non-spoiler thoughts? Because I have trouble going too much detail or going into too much detail without spoiling it.
Like you said, there were moments that were really epic and some moments that were questionable / could have been better, and there was sometimes a few feelings of something being rushed or not really, just didn't really fit quite right, But I pretty much agree with what you've said.
I thought it was very good. Maybe my favorite episode.
But maybe.
Yeah.
You're not willing to definitively state that.
I'm not, only because I'd have to go back and rewatch every episode.
We literally just rewatched the first season to get ready for the second season, then just watched the second season.
I know, but
as it came out.
I can't remember exactly what's what episode and all that, It's like, I like the series. Don't ask me a favorite episode. I'm the same way when it comes to other shows and even movie series sometimes.
So what's in the list of your favorite episodes besides this one?
The one where Boba Fett gets back in his armor.
Yeah, just that?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You didn't like the finale of season 1?
I did. Those are like my top two.
I thought that was epic. I thought the episode with Ahsoka was okay. I thought
the Ahsoka episode was also.
It was
I thought it was a little underwhelming.
Yeah.
I was excited for Ahsoka to be in there, but just the episode itself, the content of it, it was okay. Plus, I've never been a huge fan of the Grogu name reveal.
True.
But Mando got Beskar spear.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
So like Ahsoka and Grogu friends.
I don't think she knew him beforehand.
No.
If that's what you're getting at. I mean, we're going into details. Look, this was supposed to be the spoiler-free section, but that's an older episode, so. I know she said he was at the temple, and she would have been in her training at the time and been around the temple, but I don't think she actually knew him from them. I think she knew that from communicating with him.
Yeah.
And knew his name from communicating with him through the Force.
At least that's how it came off.
It didn't play to me like she had known him before. She seemed surprised.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah, I mean, so no, I don't think Ahsoka knew him beforehand. Which is not to say some other Jedis didn't know him. Obviously, some Jedis did.
I mean, probably like half the Jedis that know him are dead.
Other Jedis that we're familiar with may have known him as well, but that doesn't. And just because Ahsoka knew those Jedis and those Jedis knew Grogu doesn't mean Ahsoka and Grogu knew each other.
Yeah.
I mean, it's perfectly reasonable. Obviously, Ahsoka's all over the place doing missions, and even the temple itself is probably fairly large. So just because you hang out at the temple doesn't mean you're necessarily going to interact with everybody who's at the temple.
Yeah.
But more on that later.
Yeah.
I still say that Grogu is the oldest son.
So, anything else we can say that's not spoilery? Because this is a short spoiler-free section.
I'm not sure. I'm ready to get into
I mean, seriously, if you haven't seen it yet, I don't know why you're checking out this episode of the podcast. If you care at all about The Mandalorian or Star Wars, and if you haven't been following The Mandalorian, you need to go catch up now if you're a Star Wars fan.
Just saying, if they have 35 minutes-ish or whatever, however long this episode turns out to be, if you have about that many minutes to listen to our show, don't you have that many minutes to go watch the finale?
Just stop the show by now and go watch the episode.
And if you're just doing something where you can't watch right now, you can go listen to an older episode of the show.
True.
We're not trying to turn off your listeners by any means. Just, catch up on it. And okay, if you don't mind having it spoiled, or if you've already seen it, or if you weren't going to watch it anyway, then let's press on to the spoiler section.
Yes.
Sound good for everybody?
Yes.
Alright, let me mark down really quickly what time it is so everybody will know where to spoil it, okay?
I would just like to say that guy with the game night cat is here. She looks unsatisfied with the guy with the game night right now.
Why? I told her to stop jumping on me.
Who's got with the game night?
Me. My alter ego. I'm like a vigilante.
YouTube Gabba.
I go out and fight
YouTube
crime
Dylan.
in a
What's your
night
name on the
outfit.
show?
I don't freaking know anything.
What?
My name is anything. That is my name.
Okay, anything.
What did you say about... Did you ask for his YouTube info? Are you trying to hack his account?
No, I asked what his name on the show is.
trying to freaking steal my
Because I realized
videos.
that me and him, we use multiple names on the shows.
Uh-huh.
So,
That's fine, though.
I was just trying to keep my stuff together.
I refer to him as both Dylan and Gaba on YouTube, so
Okay.
whether we're on Gaba the Game Night or Vidiously, so I think everybody knows him as both. I mean, a lot of YouTubers are like that. Like, people know Peanut Butter Gamer as PBG or as Austin, and they know Space Hamster or Jeff, and,
Yeah.
you know, Gerard's the completionist or Gerard, so,
I'm Poor Jed, or Jared.
yeah. Alright, anyway, spoilers for The Mandalorian, Season 2 finale, The Rescue. I think the best way to go through this is going to be chronologically.
Okay.
I don't want to specifically try to restate the entire plot like we've done sometimes when we're reviewing shows and movies, but I just think the things that I have to say will be best served if we go through as they happen in the show.
Yeah, I agree.
So does that work for y'all?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so the show started out, we'll start out with a recap, of course, and you got to see the Mandalorians he'd met before, specifically Bo-Katan and her friends. I apologize, I don't know the name of either one of Bo-Katan's compatriots. I don't know Sasha Banks' character,
Me
and I
either.
don't even know the actor who played the male Mandalorian that was with her. And I've watched a bit of the cartoons, but not enough to really have all these characters committed to memory. Like, I know Bo-Katan was in it, and I know she was friends with Sabine Wren, but I don't know if Sasha Banks' character, the male Mandalorian, was in the show, so...
I haven't seen any of
I'll just be referring to them by other means. I'm not even going to bother looking it up, because it's not that relevant to my critiques.
It's true.
And my praises, but I mean, they're both fine in their roles. There's no knock against them, but they are clearly not the focus characters. So we start with the recap. We see them. We see Ahsoka again. You know, we see that Grogu has been kidnapped. Whatnot. We set up everything. We set up the people we need to see. So it looks like the Mandalorians are going to come back. It looks like Ahsoka might be coming back in this episode. And I figured that Din Djarin was going to go get more help than just... I mean, I thought he was going to recruit Bill Burr's character, but he just needed him for a specific mission. But obviously he had Cara Dune on his team. I thought he might go get, Grieve back, and I figured he'd go after the Mandalorians and maybe Ahsoka. So it looks like we're going to get some of that with this episode. And then the episode starts proper with Boba Fett's Slave One chasing down a Lambda-class Imperial shuttle, which was really nice to see because that's been sort of a signature of the Empire since Return of the Jedi. And it's nice to see that bit of canon still in play. And this ship contains the doctor that we met earlier on who was working on Grogu. We've never completely revealed what he's been doing, but it has something to do with M-counts, which everybody believes is midichlorians.
Probably.
And cloning technology has been brought up because apparently he wears an insignia similar to the ones they wear in Camino. And I guess, spoilers, in this scene we do find out that he is an expert on cloning technology.
Yes.
And we find this out after Slave One has disabled the ship, and Din Djarin and Cara Dune have boarded it. And you have these two Imperial Remnant pilots, not pirates, that's what they assume that Boba's ship is, and the doctor on there. And one of the pilots seems perfectly willing to negotiate with the invaders, like, hey, I'll give you what you want, I'm good. And the other one is real gung-ho, and he holds the doctor up, puts a gun to his head, he shoots his compatriot.
Yeah.
I mean, he's Imperial or die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the point where we find out that the doctor is apparently wanted by the rebellion, and he is an expert on cloning technology, which we kind of figured anyway. This was actually one of my favorite moments in the episode. Not so much, the boarding and the initial interaction between the two sides is fine, but he's holding the doctor hostage. He's got him in the traditional pose where he's holding him in front of him. He's got the gun to his head, and then he just starts reaming Cara Dune about the rebellion and how the Empire is so much better, and the rebellion are nothing but terrorists, and he starts getting on her about Alderaan being blown up because that was her home planet. For anybody who doesn't realize, Alderaan is the home planet of Princess Leia's adoptive father. It's the planet that they quote unquote test the Death Star on.
Yeah.
But blowing it up, and Obi-Wan, I felt a great pain, like millions of voices in the Force are crying out in pain.
So a quick test run, blowing up a planet.
Yeah, more on that in a minute, but. And Cara Dune is from Alderaan, that's been established in this series, and he's just, going on and on about it, and I'm thinking she should just shoot him in the fucking face, and she shoots him in the fucking face.
It's true.
And I mean, not only did I appreciate it just from, fuck you for saying that shit, but it also makes sense in that situation. Like, he's holding hostage, hey, I'm gonna kill him if you don't do what I want. If you take him out, you win the situation. And in real life, that's a little more precarious, but like in an action movie type setting, that's what you want to see. So I want to see it. But I also really loved it because to me, it was like a big fuck you to all those cynical assholes out there who want to be contrary and be like, oh, well, the Empire wasn't that bad and the rebels were really just technically terrorists and all that bullshit. I'm so fucking sick of hearing that. And I addressed this on one of our videos, but I'm going to address it here too. You know how I know the rebellion are the fucking good guys and the Empire are the bad guys? Because the fucking person who wrote the movies told me fucking so. Because guess what? This isn't a movie version of a true story where they're going to only show you one side and it's going to turn into propaganda. This is completely fucking fictional. Somebody want to tell a story about good versus evil. These are my good guys. These are my bad guys.
But who says Bowser's truly a bad guy?
Who says what?
Bowser's truly a bad guy.
I'm not even talking about that. Can we talk about what I'm talking about?
Well,
It's
similar.
a joke.
Okay, but you're getting me off topic. I don't know that Bowser necessarily truly is a bad guy. I mean, he and Mario team up in Super Paper Mario and Super Mario RPG.
Caesar Bowser isn't the bad guy.
I'm gonna say when it comes to Bowser, he's more like a Loki. Not exactly good,
okay,
not
but
exactly
you're telling me you truly agree that people are like, well, in a real world situation, this government has things under control, and these people are technically terrorists. And even if that's technically true, do you really deny that the Empire is a tyrannical government?
No.
And I mean, people want to say, oh, well, the rebellion's just as bad as the Empire because they killed 100,000 people on the Death Star. They killed 100,000 people who were working in the service of a tyrannical government who just blew up a planet full of 1 billion fucking people.
Yeah.
And don't tell me they were just going to use the Death Star to blow up Yavin 4 because that's where the rebels' base was and the rebels were fighting against them. They just fucking blew up Alderaan before that. They were going to blow up more fucking planets. They were going to use that Death Star as a weapon of mass destruction in order to rule through terror. Those aren't good people. That's not a good, just government that you should stand up for. And nobody's saying that the New Republic or the Old Republic or the Rebellion were always fucking right, but they're like, look, the Empire's not fucking right. What they're doing is wrong and they're doing it the wrong way. Let's try to do it a slightly better way.
Yeah.
And okay, I'll argue, well, the average citizen was probably just as good under the Empire as they would have been anywhere else. Okay, maybe that's fucking true, but that's just average Joe Blow on the street. There were still too many people suffering under the Empire. Ask the fucking Wookiees what the Empire rule was like. Ask the fucking families of the people at Alderaan what the fucking Empire was like.
I don't think you can ask the people.
I said the families of the people who were on Alderaan. There were people who were from Alderaan that weren't there when it blew up.
Very true.
Like Leia, like Cara Dune, like the pilot whose name starts with T, who I can't remember from Rogue Squadron, and I feel bad about
Rogue
it. But
Squadron?
what?
Someone from Rogue.
Yeah, one of the main guys in Rogue, not Wedge. Wedge is from Corellia, but it starts with a T, and I haven't read the books recently enough. But he's from Alderaan.
Terry.
No, but there's one. He was actually with the Empire for a while, I think. But there's one point in one of the books where apparently it's common for Alderaanians to go to the point in space where Alderaan was, and there's like a big junk pile there now because they'll leave like plants and stuff there in the remnants of the planet.
Nice.
But no, like I say, I'm sorry. This is why I don't like people applying complete real world situations and logic to works of fiction, works of fantasy, because like I said, the big problem is we're only gonna get so much of the story in a 2-hour movie. They don't have time to break down all the geopolitical maneuverings and machinations going on behind the scenes. He tried to do that in the prequels to a degree. People shit all over it. Oh, I don't want a political fucking story. I just want my action movie. But then when people get a fucking fantasy and action movie, they're like, oh, well, technically these are terrorists and these guys are really probably good. Well, no, they're probably not, but they don't have time to show all that stuff.
Yeah.
They just want to show you, look, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys, and this is, what we're leading to. We'll give you a little bit of the backstory to make everything make sense, but we're not going to break everything down.
You need to have a movie from someone in the Empire.
But while the movies don't have time for this, regardless of what they did in the prequels, it does have time for that kind of stuff?
The books?
The books, yes. They go into that kind of stuff, and not in depth to the point that they're like political handbooks, but they delve into it a lot deeper than you can.
His political handbook now.
The books delve into it much more deeper than the movies can, because just that sort of media affords you that more so than a movie does.
Yeah.
And even there's, in my favorite series, the Legacy of the Force series, which is what the new movie should have been based on, but we've talked about that ad nauseum. I may bring it up a little more during this, but it's not going to be the whole focus. Luke and Mara Jade's son Ben, you know, whose name they stole for
Ben Solo.
Kylo Ren. And Kylo Ren himself is just a bastardization of Jason Solo from those books, but I digress. He even says it at one point, you know, it seems like, you know, life for most people really wasn't, for your average citizen, wasn't that different under the Empire. And Luke and Mara were like, yeah, you know, that's kind of wise if you think that. But they're still going to fight against the remnant of the Empire and stop it from being able to come back because they know it's fucking wrong and they know it's fucking evil. And maybe your average Joe Blow citizen didn't suffer that much, but way too many people did. I mean, you may have population group X. Yeah, exactly. You may have population group X who's just fine under the Empire, but then you have population group Y who's suffering poorly. And they want to get it to where, hey, population group X is still fine, but maybe we can make things better for population group Y. Again, we may not have all the answers, but we know they're fucking wrong. We've seen their way, and it's wrong. And the fact is, the Empire wanted to rule through terror. You had a tyrannical leader at the helm who was going to do what was best for his needs. He didn't care about the world at large. He wasn't trying to bring order to the galaxy in as much as, hey, I think things are wrong and I need to fix it. He wanted to bring order to the galaxy and that I want to fucking rule the galaxy.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear any of this bullshit about, oh, the rebels were really bad, or the Republic's all wrong, and the Empire was so good.
Yeah,
and
Palpatine's a joke.
And that to me is why I like that scene, because not only did it make sense within the context of the scene, it was also a big fuck you to all those cynical assholes out there who want to sit there and theorize so fucking much about these movies instead of just enjoying them. And I don't mind a good theory, and I don't mind a deep dive, but why do you want to tear something down? And especially, like I said, it doesn't make any sense. There's really nothing that says, hey, this is what was really going on. It's just that, oh, well, because they don't show that, because they don't take the time to break this down and explain that it must mean this, because in real life it might have meant this. Because in real fucking life, you can see so many different angles. This, you're only going to be able to get what you can get in a 2-hour movie or a 45-minute show or whatever.
Yeah.
And like I say, when they try to give you more of that, people shit on, oh, well, we don't want all that stuff in our movies. That's half the reason the prequels suck. That and Jar Jar Binks and midi-fucking-chlorians.
Hey, Jar Jar Binks was the best character in Star Wars.
Look, I can take or leave Jar Jar. He didn't ruin the movies for me at all. I understand people don't like the character, but it's not enough to ruin the fucking movie. I mean, I'm not saying for somebody it's not, because everybody has their own tastes.
And also, I don't see any problems with midi-chlorians. I mean, I don't think they add anything, but I don't think they take anything.
I don't have any issue with them whatsoever. I don't need a whole bunch about them though. Keeping fair, I didn't mind it being established. I thought it was kind of cool to have sort of an explanation behind it. But as long as it's not the main focus, as long as it's just touched upon here and there,
as long as you don't have midi-chlorians in the movie,
I'm fine with it. But yeah, so I really liked that part. I thought it got us started on a really good note.
Yeah.
You guys have anything to add to that?
No.
Alright, so from there we get into one of the scenes that I didn't like as much. Boba Fett and Din Djarin walk into a bar.
Yeah.
No, that's not set up for a joke. That's actually the scene.
Yes.
And there we have Bo-Katan and Sasha Banks' character. Again, the male Mandalorian that was with him is not there. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if we'll ever find out.
Me neither.
But it was just them. And
He's at another ball.
And he's come to recruit them into his mission. Speaking of Din Djarin, the Mandalorian. And I don't really like the way he was received. I thought they had a real, not necessarily a friendship, but an agreement after they worked together in that one episode.
Yeah.
And like he's coming to them for help. She's like, not everybody's a bounty hunter. It's like, fuck you! Who said it was a bounty? I just came to ask for a favor after we worked together, and I thought we were tight, Mandalorian tight, you know?
Yeah.
Mando strong. But I didn't care for that reception. I didn't like the way they treated Boba Fett either. Like,
yeah, I didn't care for how they treated
I'll acknowledge that Boba Fett is a self-serving asshole. He's like that in all the books.
But you know, self-serving assholes are badass.
He gets a little better later on, but he's still always pretty much a self-serving asshole. So, I don't mind somebody not liking Boba Fett, but dislike him because of his deeds. Don't dislike him because, oh, you're a clone. I mean, fuck you. I mean, it's kind of fucking racist.
There seems to be a thing against clones going on.
And I mean, we know there are good clones.
Yeah.
Like Commander Cody and who's the other one from?
Isn't it Rex or something?
I don't know much about the clones.
And the Bad Batch probably.
And see, the thing is in it's not in the clone. It's in the. Yeah, you got me off for a minute. In the books, Jango Fett is like, well, he was like the Mandalore. He was like the ruler of Mandalore. Which again, I mean,
they had the Darksaber.
The Darksaber was made up in the cartoon,
Yes,
and most of these books predate the cartoon.
Yes, I know.
So, Mandalore in the books that I've read anyway, it is very much like they're depicting it now. It's a fractured people, and it's less about being born on Mandalore, and more about just being part of the Mandalorian tradition. So it's not really a cohesive people at this point. But for all intents and purposes, Django is the leader of those people, and Boba, maybe not immediately, but at some point inherits that position from Django. He's sort of a reluctant leader of the Mandalorians, but he gets to be more into it later on, which seems to be how they're going with Din Djarin at this point, which we'll get into a little more later. But once again, they're kind of bastardizing the books for their own purposes. It's like, if you're going to do it, just do the story. Don't take little good pieces of it and repurpose it. I mean, which is neat, but...
Yeah.
And I like to see a good idea used, but if you're going to do it all the way.
I think if they're not gonna canonize the books, they should at least make a series of the books.
Right.
But anyway, I didn't like the way she approached. She was like, "You're not a Mandalorian." I like, didn't say I was, which I guess that's probably a Boba Fett response. But at the same time, I
mean, just as much of a Mandalorian as freaking Din Djarin.
Yeah, and I'm not saying. I mean, they should respect him, because I thought all the Mandos. I feel like all the Mandos should respect each other. All the Mandalorians should have a respect for each other, unless you give your fellow Mandalorians a reason not to respect you.
And as far as we're aware, Boba Fett hasn't exactly done that.
He probably has, but they didn't admit that they knew
That's what I'm saying. According to the show, we don't know of a specific timing of him doing that.
But what was I saying?
I'm not sure.
And in the episode where he met Bo-Katan and Sasha Banks, and again, I'm sorry, I don't know her name, so she's just Sasha Banks right now in Star Wars canon. They seem more on that sort of page, like, hey, Mandalorians should respect each other, and we should be cool, you know.
Yeah.
They're just like all up on Boba, and I don't even, and she's really just by his voice gonna be like, you're not a Mandalorian, like nobody else can have a similar voice to a clone, and they're hearing it slightly digitized through a helmet. I mean, I get they all had a similar voice because they're all Django's clones, but, and then he's gonna be like, this was my father's arm. It's like, you mean your donor? I mean, like, fuck you.
I agree.
I mean, I don't know her whole history with the clones. Like, we know Din had an issue with droids for a while and sort of came around a little bit, a backstory we never really got.
Well, wasn't his, like, destroyed by droids, the super droids? Didn't we see that in, like, flashback thing?
Was it droids or was it Death Troopers?
It was the super droids.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Well, maybe we did
Like
get just a small piece of it, but... So, again, maybe she has a really bad history with the clones, but then again, I mean, he's clearly not your average clone.
Very
and we know there are good clones, so... And I also didn't... You know, him and Sasha Banks getting in the fight, I could have done without that.
Yeah. That was... I mean...
It was what it was, but...
Yeah.
It seemed a little unnecessary.
Yeah.
And I don't think it really did anything for either one of the characters.
So they
Not
also
really.
missed on the jetpacks because their helmets have the little antenna scope thing.
I don't think it's necessarily standard Mandalorian gear, but I'm sure more than just Boba Fett have them.
Probably.
I know the Mandalorian helmets look weird without the little antenna
Lol.
scope thing.
Did you say they look better or they look weird?
They look weird.
So you think Din Djarin's helmet looks weird?
Yeah.
I'm fine with.
Well, like the only Mandalorian I've seen for, like Din Djarin. Well, I've seen like Sabine. From
Well, what about like all the Mandalorians we saw in the earlier episodes?
I said before, like Din Djarin was Boba, and he has the little antenna.
Yeah, I mean,
That the boy knows the Mandalorian helmet.
I'm sure I've seen other Mandalorians represented in comics or in cosplay or in what have you that didn't have the antenna.
Probably.
Like I can take it or leave it. The one thing I will say is the more we get of Boba Fett, he needs to get some new underclothes. Like, not underwear, but he wears like that long trench coat or whatever that hangs down under his armor, and it looks really weird. He needs to get his leg armor back and just go back to the pants.
Yeah.
He has knee pad pockets.
Yeah, I'm just not feeling that.
That's true.
I'm not feeling that trench coat he's got on.
Boba Fett, the one that can't pull off trench coats.
And he looks a little heavy too with it on. I mean, maybe the actress put on some weight or something, but he's sort of like dad bod Boba Fett.
I was gonna say Boba Fett looks a little bigger than I expected.
I mean, don't get me wrong, he is old, but hey, I want to digress something about Boba Fett really quickly.
Okay.
We see him on Tatooine early on in this season,
Yeah.
and that's the episode that Din Djarin acquires his armor in, because the armor had wound up in the hands of the Jawas, and this local marshal had bought it off of him and was using it. Why did Boba Fett just never take it from the local marshal? I'm sure he could have handled him.
I don't know.
Why did he wait until Din Djarin got it and then go after him and follow him through the galaxy and try to take it back from him?
Well, maybe
Who
because
knows?
Din Djarin was like another man. I was like, hey, another Malin.
He couldn't talk to him on Tatooine?
Nope.
Don't question it.
And so, I mean, but again, I'm sure he could have gotten it from the marshal, no problem. He really just didn't want to upset that little town. Boba Fett's that good. I just told you, Boba Fett's a self-serving prick.
Well, he didn't need the armor.
We don't know why.
Hey, Mandalorian. That's looking for
He didn't need it. He's like, oh, there's other Mandalorians out there? Guess I should get my armor finally. We're getting the band back together, even though I don't want to be a part of the band.
Lol.
I don't want to be left out though. If somebody else is gonna have cool armor out there, I'm gonna have cool armor out there.
No one can be cooler than me.
I had the original cool armor. Y'all aren't gonna all be cool without me.
I had 3 minutes of screen time, and I'm a fan favorite.
I didn't mind that Yahoo over there in the desert town looking like me, because everybody knew he wasn't really me, and he was just some yokel in a hick town who nobody was really gonna know about anyway. But now that somebody out in the galaxy's got it, I've got to have it too. I mean, come on now, I'm Boba fucking Fett.
Lol.
3 minutes of screen time, fan favorite, Boba Fett.
Yep.
I mean, it's not untrue. I mean, it's more than 3 minutes of screen time, to be fair, but
I personally don't know.
Yeah, it's 4 minutes.
he's part of that long tradition of really cool Star Wars characters who didn't get much love in the movies.
Yeah.
He was the first in that line, but not the last.
He set it up.
See Jango Fett, Darth Maul, Count Dooku, General Grievous.
Darth Maul at first didn't get much love, but in all the animated series, he appears.
Hasn't that guy
Yeah, but
been
he's still
killed
just a
and
recurring
revived
character. He
10
didn't get a full on, He's still here and then he's not. He's here and then he's not.
Yeah.
They did
He's got an
they have made
off-on
up for that.
relationship
And they're
with
making up
life.
for it with Boba too. I mean, obviously he had stuff to do during the Clone Wars, and in the extended universe is now considered the Legends canon. He's all over that, and it looks like we're going to be seeing more of him now. They're making up for it, but I'm saying initially when you just had the movies, there was a long history of really cool characters that didn't get much to do beyond, oh, they're really cool, and then now they're gone.
Yeah.
And I've even heard that Lucas said if he'd realized how popular Boba Fett was going to be, he probably would have done more with him, or at least made his end in the movies more interesting than it was.
Then he was playing Empire. Everyone should have known that he was so cool in that.
Yeah, but I mean, that's still the nascent days of the Star Wars craze.
And then she's like, Afric, we gotta reshoot Return of the Jedi. Don't have Boba die.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, so Boba Fett was technically in Star Wars. It was just a scene that got cut out.
Yeah.
And then he actually is an Empire. But I mean,
technically his first appearance is in the
so he makes Empire. He's going through all that, and yes, the success and everything. But right on the heels of that, it's time to start getting ready and planning for Jedi. So I'm sure he's not out there in the world seeing how cool Boba is. And I mean, again, Star Wars grew, man. I mean, I was born in 1979, 2 years after Star Wars came out. I saw Empire and Jedi in the theaters, but I was still a little kid. I mean, my peak Star Wars fandom was probably several years removed from Return of the Jedi. So it's us that were growing up with it and really, bringing it back and playing it out in the backyard and playing with our action figures that elevated Boba Fett to this grand status.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the initial movie-going audience. It's all the subsequent viewings and all the replays of it and all the, like I say, playing it with your friends. That's, what sort of elevated him to cult status.
Can you believe how big Star Wars got?
I mean, I came into it already being big.
Yeah. I'm just saying, do you ever just stop and think about something you really like and just be like, damn, one point in time this was just a random idea someone had?
I mean, to me, Star Wars is the greatest movie of all time. And that's not to say it's the absolute best by any metric, but it's set up our whole modern pop culture world in so many ways.
Definitely.
And it's a really good movie. And I mean, some people don't like it. A lot of people do like it. And a lot of people do like it in different ways and for different reasons. But it's just, it's the modern blockbuster. It's the modern fantasy epic. It's set up so much ahead of it. And it's still going so strong. I mean, half of Disney Plus is fucking Star Wars at this point.
And they just announced like 10
it's
different
fucking 45% Marvel, 50% Star Wars, and like 5% everything else.
All those Pixar.
Star Wars again, like 5 more series in 2021.
I know, it's crazy. And we're going to talk about another one of those in a minute too. But
for now.
My parents always said it was kind of like this, at least in their eyes, that cinema in the 70s was like a lot of real downer movies and a lot of heavy stuff and very serious stuff, and Star Wars was one of the first movies of that time that just was a feel-good movie. You go and you have a good time at the movies. So I think that's a big part of what...
One's a movie, it doesn't make you feel bad.
I just think it was the mood of the time,
Why was the mood of the 70s?
Are you saying you don't
feel bad?
Are you saying you don't like dark movies? You don't like movies that aren't
I enjoy it. It does seem odd, though.
I mean, I want to watch them when I'm in the mood to watch them. When I'm in the mood for something else, I want to watch something else. But I appreciate
To give us money to feel
I
bad.
did too.
I
I
appreciate
just
dark movies.
I just feel as though it does seem odd that
And
would
again,
be like the majority
in the
of stuff.
70s, there weren't necessarily as many movies coming to the theaters as there,
Very true.
were in certainly the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah.
So I
And
mean,
didn't Star Wars do like a bunch of really cool stuff, production stuff,
yeah, I mean, a lot of modern special effects sort of got their start with Star Wars. They had to invent a lot of what they were doing. I mean, they did a lot of stuff with models, but they also started doing some of the early computer work, and
Yeah.
they had to invent cameras and whatnot. There's a really good book called Empire Building about the mainly the first 3 Star Wars movies, but there's a little bit about Phantom Menace in at least one edition of it, the edition that I have, that I'd highly recommend reading if you're interested in the making of the Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
And George Lucas's career in general too, because it goes back to like THX 1149. I can't remember what the name of it is, but his first big movie. And then of course American Graffiti, which is the movie that sort of made his career
Nice.
before Star Wars.
Never heard of those movies.
But I guess getting back to the Mandalorian, unless there's someplace else y'all want to go down this thread.
I don't believe so.
So it comes down to it's basically just going to be Cara Dune, Din Djarin, Bo-Katan, Sasha Banks,
Sasha Banks exists in Star Wars.
Boba Fett, and crap, what's Ming-Na Wen's characters? I've been saying it over and over
I forget.
in my head, and now
I
all
have
of a sudden
no
I can't
idea.
remember it. Seriously?
To me, she's
I
just
don't know what I
Ming-Na
mean.
Wen.
No,
Y'all are going to let me down.
It says the dude who
Stop.
doesn't know Sasha Banks' name.
Do you?
No, but I'm just saying, don't come down
I'm
on
sorry,
us
I'm
for not
sorry.
knowing Ming-Na Wen.
Wait. Bo-Katan, Din Djarin, Boba Fett, Cara Dune, and Fennec Shan is Ming-Na Wen.
Okay.
Could you name all those?
No.
No, because you couldn't name Fennec fucking Shan. We're watching. I should point out we do have this episode on in front of us. We're not doing this as a true watch along or commentary track, but I just wanted to have some visual references just in case.
Yes.
And so their plan is basically to fly the shuttle in and pretend that they're under distress. They're gonna have Boba Fett flying behind them, shooting at them, and get them to let them land on there, and then carry out the assault from there. And in the midst of that, the Grand Moff Tarkin ship sends out TIE fighters for support. And it was
Yeah.
cool to see the TIE fighters the way they were sort of carried by this like crane mechanism to be deployed.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's canon to all the stories or if it would even be the same on every ship, but it was a neat way to depict it in this anyway.
Yeah.
So the rescue's underway, and the only thing I don't really like about it is that Boba really has not much to do with it. He's just kind
I
of...
agree.
I felt like he was kind of the getaway driver, but then Dylan pointed out the idea was to commandeer the Imperial ship anyway, so they wouldn't really need a getaway driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
He just kinda
I
I still kind of watched the slave one.
I still assumed the plan was for him to hook back up with him at some point, but it would have been neater to have a little more Boba Fett. But we got the great Boba Fett episode already, so it's fine.
I mean, who
Yeah.
else is gonna watch the slave one?
Yeah, true.
Right.
I mean, since this was their plan, I mean, maybe they could have come in a different way, but
Now,
now, to be fair, like in the books, the slave one does have defense systems. He can sort of leave it in space and leave his defenses on. They're not necessarily impregnable. Somebody could get through them, but in theory, he could put it somewhere. But I don't know how he would have gotten on the ship from there at that point. I mean, maybe he could have used a jetpack, but
Maybe. I like
What
when
about a
he's
space jetpack from the
leaving,
toys?
when he's leaving or whatever, and he starts shooting, or he's shooting at the whatever ships they're called, and he does like
TIE
the spin
fighters?
thing.
You don't know the name of a fucking TIE fighter, a twin
I
ion
do.
engine
TIE fighter.
fighter?
They have as much armor as stormtroopers.
It's true, TIE fighters don't come with shields.
I have to sit here and think like what.
I mean, they
They
might
are-
be
they
made
are-
of a bit more resistant material. I
They
doubt
are
you could
very
just shoot
fat.
one with a blaster.
They are very fast.
I doubt you could just shoot one with a blaster.
And they have,
it goes down.
they're heavily armed, but no, they don't have shields.
Nice to know.
The Empire feels like their soldiers are expendable.
Yeah.
Yeah. With a bad strategy.
Yeah.
They
Do you know how many knights died because they had very good armor? Like a little amount. They had good armor, so like none died.
I gotta dial something back really quickly. In that bar scene, Bo-Katan explains more about the Darksaber.
Yes.
More for Din Djarin and I guess for anybody who didn't watch Clone Wars and Rebels' sake than for anything else. But she makes sure to point out that it can cut through anything except pure Beskar.
Yes.
It's like the most pointless, obvious foreshadowing of all time. Like, we already figured that the Beskar armor and the Beskar shield were going to come into play against the Darksaber.
Yeah.
Like he walks into the bar with the shield on his.
Beskar allies? Alloys, not allies.
Beskar.
We're the Beskar allies.
Alloys.
Do what now?
Are they like Beskar alloys?
Yeah, I
Like
guess.
I
Dual Steel
assume so.
Beskar?
Especially if they're gonna sit there and point out pure
Probably.
Beskar. Then
But
I
my
assume
point
she's
is-
trying to make it clear, like, an alloy's not gonna work it.
Din Djarin walks in the bar with the Beskar spear on his back. It was already pretty obvious that it was going to come down to this, but at this point, she's really got to point out, except pure Beskar is the only thing it can't cut.
Yeah, like that spear on your back.
It would have been really nice if they actually didn't use that together. If he got the Darksaber from some other means,
That would have been
because I mean it's like
you assume that they just set it
seemed,
up. And
Yeah, it
then,
seemed
nope.
really obvious already, but that little bit of foreshadowing was just so fucking ham-fisted
Yeah.
to the point that like, really.
Yeah. It was one of the iffier kind of moments. Cause it just felt odd in the conversation too. You know, it just felt like, why did you say that? Like, it was just awkward.
Yeah, Mandalorians are freaking great against lightsabers.
And see, that's one of those little
Let's go.
moments where it's just like, really? I mean, a lot of the issues I have are more production-oriented, editing, shooting, etc. But that's just one in the scripting and I mean, I assume it was written in the script. I doubt it was ad-libbed, or they just, hey, we should throw this in on set.
Yeah.
It's just like, it was so ham-fisted and just, it was clunky, you know?
I
You
agree.
could have fit that in better if you really need to fit it in at all. I mean, we saw that Ahsoka's lightsabers couldn't cut fucking through it. If a lightsaber can't cut through it, pretty much nothing's going to be able to cut
Yeah,
through
why
it.
would a Darksaber be able to?
Huh?
Yeah, why would a Darksaber be able to?
That's what I'm saying. Even if the Darksaber is technically a little stronger than a lightsaber, and I personally don't know the whole history of the Darksaber,
Me
so
neither.
I'm not sure.
I don't know, it's like a dog.
That's
It's like
much
a
more-
lightsaber made by a Mandalorian.
That's much more of a cartoon and more modern canon than I've really delved into. So,
I didn't know anything about it.
but all I'm
until
saying
this
is
show.
showing Ahsoka's lightsabers not be able to cut through it should have been enough.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much that they showed in the recap. Ahsoka was there, but I mean, it's like if you didn't watch 4 episodes ago, why are you even bothering to watch this episode? Do you really need all the details? Aren't you going to just accept whatever if you're not willing to go along for the whole ride?
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's mainly up to the ladies, the 2 Mandalorians and Cara Dune and Fennec Shan. They're really the assault team, and they feel like they can deal with the stormtroopers and the Imperial officers that are on deck. The only thing that's really going to be a problem are these dark troopers, the all black soldiers that we saw. And again, I'm talking about their
troopers.
exterior. I'm not talking about their skin color, because as it turns out, there is no skin inside. They're completely droids.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's something we find out in this episode. But they're the ones that actually came down and abducted Grogu off the mountaintop for context.
And because the droids, they can take a lot of fire. You know, like good armor.
But-
Make them really strong.
But apparently they're of a pretty big concern, so they come up with a plan to sort of seal them off and get them out of the way, because they take too much power to be at the ready all the time, so they're kind of
Yeah.
in storage and they take a few minutes to boot up.
Got charge up.
But as it turns out, either because he kept having to duck back in to get away from troopers, or just bad timing, or whatever, they charged up quicker than they expected. So Din doesn't quite make it there on time, and I think that's a really good moment when he sees the doors open. He's like, "No!" And you just feel that anguish in his voice, and it's like it's so important for him to save this kid, and it's
Yeah.
like this is going to be a huge stumbling block. And then it's like, no, and he does get the door sealed, but one trooper gets out. And the doors close, and the rest are trying to get their way out. And then you have this pretty intense fight between Din Djarin and the one Death Trooper, which shows you what a formidable opponent these Death Troopers are. Because Din Djarin's certainly not unstoppable, but he's a pretty big badass, and he could take pretty much anybody out one-on-one.
Yeah.
Maybe not a Jedi, but
Half about the Death Trooper punching his head.
I just want to know why it took them so long to make something like
see,
this.
that to me too. It was kind of a cool scene, and of course the Beskar is stopping it from doing any real outward damage to the armor, but he's knocking him back into the framing of the ship and doing damage to it, so he's taking a pounding. And if you think back to that season 1 finale that I praised so much, I mean, he took a concussion blast from an explosion.
Yeah.
It pretty much left him for dead, even in his armor, and he had to have IG-88 administer aid to him to save him. And I'm thinking those repeated blows to his helmet that's gonna have a concussive effect too. I'm kind of surprised he survived that.
Same.
Because the armor protects him from the direct contact, but it's still, rattling around his brain. It's like football players wear helmets to stop from outward attacks on their head, but it doesn't stop them from getting concussions.
Yeah.
I mean, it does protect to a degree, but not that much. So you feel like he's still gonna get fucked up. So I was like,
They put some padding in it.
it felt a little. Oh well, football helmets have padding too. You still can't.
put more padding.
Shaking your head around is not good for your brain.
It's very true.
But so I get they needed to establish just what a formidable foe these Death Troopers were.
Yeah.
Because of what happens in the third act, but and also just to say, hey, this is why it was such a big deal for them to get them out of the way. Because look at how much trouble one is, let alone a dozen, and I guess it was more than that, really. Probably like 2 dozen of them.
At least.
I actually think they said the number, but I'm not that concerned about it. Somewhere between a dozen or two. But so it's a good fight. But I think, like I said, I think the beating, it felt a little off. Like I said, I don't know that he would have come back from that based on what we've seen earlier.
Yeah.
Some of it was fine. I get he needs to almost go down and then come back, but I thought that was... But, you know, if you push aside from that, I mean, it was an intense scene and it was well done. It's just like, yeah, I'm not sure he really would have been standing after all that. And it's eventually the Beskar spear that does him in. He gets him up through the throat and rips out whatever's making him go. So that Beskar spear came in handy, and then he's able to hit the airlock on the rest of them, and they all go flying out.
And you think that that's it?
Which some people, well, kind of, but some people may say, why is there an airlock there for him? But of course, Dylan had the right idea. Tell him.
They need to get
so they can deploy. Yeah, they got to get out. Like
deploy.
When the ship was up in orbit, when he blew up the Razor Crest,
they had to come out. 70 hallways.
Of course, there'd be some kind of an airlock there.
Yeah.
But at this point, he sucks them all into space. But of course, it seemed like they were going to get back at some point because obviously
the robots,
they're not human. They weren't going to die from exposure. I did think maybe, because it's so cold out in space, maybe they would, not be able to handle being out of atmosphere.
Maybe there's a 1-hour battery.
I thought that was a possibility, but yeah, they have...
Please plug in your Death Troop.
They have the rocket troop boost, so it seemed like they would come back, but I thought maybe by the time they came back, and I'm sure this was part of their plan, they thought they would have the ship under control and be able to take care of them at that point, or just be out of there.
Yeah.
Of course, as it turns out, they were wrong, but we'll get to that.
Very wrong.
Actually, I guess we pretty much are to that.
Mistakes were made.
So the forward guard, they get into the command center of the cabin, fucking kill everybody in there. Don't spare a single person.
Yeah.
But Moff Gideon's not there.
No.
I'm
wondering where it could be.
Din Djarin gets to the brig where Grogu's being held, and he opens the door, and Gideon's in there with the darksaber over Grogu's head.
I was very scared for Baby.
And I got a little annoyed at this scene. I got a little annoyed at this scene too, because as much as I like Giancarlo Esposito and I enjoy the character of Moff Gideon, he's like, oh yes, I know you're traveling with her. I know you've shot all your stinging arrows. Assume that I know everything. It's like I get he's ISB. I get intelligence is his business.
I mean, maybe it's a tablet that had all the cameras on it. So like, oh, he used his thing.
But at some point, it's kind of like he seemed like he knew too fucking much.
I agree.
Small thing.
Very small.
And he and Din even kind of negotiate. It's like, hey, I just want the kid. So it's kind of fucked up because Din Djarin's like, he's gonna sell out Bo-Katan. He's like, keep the shit. I don't care if she gets it. Just give me my kid. Which, hey, I get. You're gonna do desperate things for your kid, and that is his main goal. I don't know that he ever promised her. Hey, I promise you, no matter what, you're gonna get that sword. Just hey, I need your help. I'm here for the kid, what do you want? I got to do my thing. But I wasn't a little surprised he was so willing. But then again, it could have been subterfuge on his part. He thought maybe he'd get the kid and then still get Moff Gideon. But
maybe.
So Gideon's like, you know what? I see he means a lot to you. I've already got what I need from him. Take him.
At the same time, Bo-Katan said that she wanted to fight Moff Gideon. So
true. Well, she just said she wanted him to surrender to her.
Yeah.
Yeah. She said she didn't care what happened to him as long as he surrendered to her.
But so he's like, I'm going to give him to you, and he backs off, and it's like, it's too good to be true.
Yes.
There's got to be.
Just evading.
Either he's got some kind of trap set for him, or it's going to come back later on, and it doesn't take very long. Like, as soon as he turns his back with Grogu, Gideon's trying to strike with the darksaber. And that's a pretty badass scene. Din Djarin's blocking him with his gauntlets, and the spear's going to come out at some point, but it's taking him a minute to get to it, because he's got to fight off the barrage of Gideon, and then we get the pretty cool darksaber versus Beskar spear duel that Ray Charles could have seen coming.
That everybody
knew
was gonna happen.
It's pretty obvious.
But
so obvious.
It was a good little fight, but it was over quicker than I thought. And this is one of those elements that sort of felt rushed. Like, damn, he took him down. And I mean, he should have fucking killed him. I'm sorry, but I know Cara Dune.
With weapons.
I know Cara Dune wanted him alive.
Good enough.
But a foe that day, and again, real life is what it is. At least within the realm of an action movie, you don't leave a dangerous foe
No.
alive. Yeah, how many times do we see that come
Should
back
always
to haunt
kill
you?
your enemies.
They're willing to kill you. You need to be willing to kill them. This ain't about turning the other cheek and being the better person. This is about survival, and he should have killed them. I mean, I guess, like I say, maybe he thought he was honoring his friends because Cara Dune wanted him alive, and he knew Bo-Katan had some kind of business with him. So, but he should have killed him.
I agree.
Of course, it might have made the episode play out a little differently, but
Very true.
so anyway, he ends up bringing him back to the cabin, and pretty much right away we know there's some kind of an issue here. And Gideon's a little too happy, and he's saying things to Bo-Katan that almost made me think Bo-Katan was going to double cross Din Djarin, like she'd been working for Moff Gideon or something. It's like, oh shit, that's why they rushed through this stuff, because they got to get to this third act twist where she's going to double cross him. That's not exactly what it turned out to be. Apparently, in the lore of the Darksaber, and this is explained by Moff Gideon in this show, and it may well have been explained in some of the other cartoons and maybe even some of the new books that I haven't read, but apparently the Darksaber makes you the rightful king of Mandalore. This is what I said earlier about how it seems like they're sort of taking that reluctant leader of Mandalore role that they gave Boba Fett in the books and using with Din Djarin in this.
Possibly.
So apparently now, because it's sort of like the Elder Wand in Harry Potter. Where,
Yeah.
You got to win the wand. So apparently you have to defeat the last holder of the weapon, which again, I don't know how that plays out. I know Sabine had it, and I don't know if Bo-Katan beat her. I don't know how that exchange happened. I don't know how Bo-Katan lost it.
I haven't really watched
Some of that may or may not have happened in the shows. It may have happened, outside of the actual presentation of the shows.
If at all.
But I love Din Djarin. That scene. It's like, I don't want it, just take it. And he's not standing on ceremony or anything else. I don't care what the history is, just take it. It's yours. And she's completely reluctant to do it. And you know something's about to go down. I thought for sure she was going to pull out a blaster and it was going to be a showdown between them. I'm like,
I mean,
it felt like
the man
that's where they were going.
this is not how I want this to end. But obviously they were setting something up because they got through everything else quicker than they should have. This is what the build-up was. So I'm like, man, I'm not sure I like this. But then before they can resolve that, here come the Death Troopers again. They're like, oh, the hull is breaching. And I think maybe you said something about it, Dylan, while we were watching, or maybe I just realized it. But it's like, oh shit, here are the Death Troopers back.
Yeah.
And as much as they set up the Death Troopers being a threat, and that they had to get rid of them, and that Din Djarin had that tough battle with the one, I didn't even necessarily think they were as big a threat until they came back, and everybody is just like, oh shit, what are we gonna do now? Like, I mean, you've got like some of the
they had the Darksaber.
you have some of the baddest characters, and when I say I mean like badass characters, some of the toughest, most resourceful, best in a fight characters we've seen in the Star Wars universe, in Cara Dune and Fennec Shand and Bo-Katan and Sasha Banks and Din Djarin.
Sasha Banks, the strongest character.
And they're not exactly panicking, but they're all clearly concerned about what's going to happen when those Dark Troopers get here.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty intense and sort of harkened back. And even when the Dark Troopers were first coming out of their pods or coming out of their storage, and they had that dubstep playing, which some people seem to like, some people seem to not like. I'm not a big fan of dubstep, so I didn't necessarily think, oh, that's dubstep. It just... I did notice it. The music stood out to me as being unique, but I thought it fit really well.
Yeah.
And like that scene, and then the scene where they're coming for them, they went back to those sort of horror suspense elements that we saw in the season 1 episode in the prison. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of cool when we get to see different genres mixed in. And so now we've switched to this, and it's like, okay, so they're barricaded in the cabin, they've shut the blast doors, but the Dark Troopers are beating them down. They're going to get through, probably. What is going to stop them? And I mean, the only thing I can think is at some point a lightsaber is going to come out and start cutting them up.
Or the Darksaber that they did have.
But they didn't seem to be making any move to go after them. Yeah. I mean, it could have happened. It could have come through the door or something. And I figured it was probably going to be Ahsoka, because we've seen her before. Maybe it's Ahsoka with some other Jedi. I don't know. But they clearly showed her in the recap at the beginning, just like they showed Bo-Katan and Sasha Banks. So it's like, okay, she's probably coming back. Or, I don't know, maybe the New Republic's going to help out. Or maybe Grieve's going to come lead a charge of people. Or maybe some of the Mandalorians are going to... Somebody's going to come, but I don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And then they do this shot, with like they're standing in the cabin, there's like the 4 view panels where you can see out into space behind Cara Dune. And all of a sudden a ship comes by, and I'm like, oh, hello, X-Wing. And it's a single X-Wing. And I'm thinking, okay, it's the New Republic. There's going to be a squad of X-Wings. Nope, just one X-Wing. And I missed this when we were watching it live. I actually didn't hear it until I watched the scene over. somebody's like an X-wing, and Cara Dune's like, "Wow, single X-wing, we're saved," sarcastically.
Yeah.
And of course at this point Dylan and I are just freaking out. We're literally up. We're literally up on our seats. I mean, my palms had been sweating earlier on, but I was like on the verge of tears. I'm like, no, it can't be. I mean, we know a pretty good X-wing pilot.
Yeah.
I mean, could it be? Is it possible they're gonna do this?
Biggs. Wait, is it Biggs? Didn't Biggs Wedge die one of them?
Biggs died. Wedge is really good.
It's Wedge.
You know, I would like to see Wedge Antilles. I don't know what he would have done in this. He would have. Oh my God, Rogue Squadron could have come in. That would have been kind of cool. I'm saying I wouldn't have been disappointed in that. I'm not sure what they could have done to the Dark Troopers since they had been in X-wings and the Dark Troopers would have been inside. I'm sorry, the Death Troopers or Dark Troopers? Have I missed
Dark
naming the whole time?
Troopers, sure.
Fuck, I've been calling them Death Troopers.
I'm not
I could
sure.
know. Maybe they are Death
I
Troopers.
feel like an idiot now.
Are
There's
Death Troopers or
something.
Dark Troopers? I know there's some type of Death Trooper that's like zombie stormtroopers.
Yeah, but that's not exactly canon.
It's no
Yeah.
longer canon, at least.
Yeah, but they weren't really zombies, and I'm not sure even that story was necessarily supposed to be 100% canon to the
I'm
what's
not
now
sure
called
if it
Legends
was
canon. I've never read it. I've read about it,
Nice.
but So anyway, where were we? I'm sorry.
We were discussing the.
I know we were at the end of the thing, but yeah. So Dylan and I we're flipping out, and I'm sitting like, no, it can't be. There's no way they're actually going to bring, as you've heard on this show, my favorite fictional character back for this. I mean, I hoped they were going to at one point, but it was more hope than anything else.
Yeah.
And so it's like, could it be? Could it be? And then all of a sudden, oh, it's so bad. I mean, if you've seen Rogue One, that scene where Darth Vader just cuts through the rebels. And it's like, wow, we finally get to see badass Darth Vader. Like, we've seen badass Anakin. We never really got to see him in the suit be the badass that he clearly was presented to be.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that scene is so fucking powerful. And we're getting a version of that, except instead of hapless rebel troopers, it's these, almost mythically strong dark troopers or death troopers, whatever they are, and somebody in a... Well, at first we just see somebody in a cloak walking down a hallway.
Yeah.
And the next thing we see somebody with a lightsaber just cutting them to shreds. And we're watching it through the... monitors in the control room.
Yes.
And
They're like black and white.
And it's like fuzzy, and that's another thing too. It's like I couldn't tell for sure if it was one lightsaber or two, so I'm still thinking it's probably just going to be Ahsoka because that could be two lightsabers. They're showing it fuzzy, and it's not in color, so I don't know what color the lightsabers are. So it's like it's just Ahsoka. And the whole time we're freaking out, and your mother's back there like, "Who is it? Who is it?" And it's like I don't even want to. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to jinx it because it's like no. It can't be, can't.
But then,
and then
we see it in color.
Then we get it in color, and it's a green lightsaber, and the person wielding it has one gloved hand, and it's like, oh my fucking God, oh my God, is it the most powerful Jedi of all time? Actually, finally being presented the way he should be post Jedi. And yes, spoiler for anyone who doesn't know, I don't know why you're listening to the spoiler section, but yes, it is Luke fucking Skywalker, and he is such a badass. And I mean, again, Luke Skywalker is not a bad guy in the books, but he is very fucking powerful, so if he needs to be, he can be the baddest of badasses.
It's true.
Yeah.
And in the books, you get to see that sometimes when you need it. In this case, you get to see it because you have these feared dark troopers who, like I say, 5 of the baddest warriors we've seen are worried about facing down as a group, and this is just one person just cutting them to shreds, just not stopping, just plowing through them, slices one, throwing bits of one at another one, taking them down, just completely eradicating them, and then finally gets to the last one and just reaches out that gloved hand and just contracts it and just squeezes it to death, and it's like, fuck, that is power.
Yeah.
With that scene, it's like, I understand stormtroopers against Jedi like that, where it's like, oh, you want numbers so maybe you can shoot them from like multiple angles, or to shoot them ones where they can't deflect all. But when there's no Jedi, like during the first 3 movies when there's pretty much no Jedi, you'd think you'd want the strong ones that can just take blaster shots.
I'm not sure what you're getting at.
Me neither.
Like the Death Troopers with good armor.
Uh-huh.
Like stormtroopers,
It's a work in progress.
with the lightsaber, it doesn't matter what armor you have, you're getting cut through, and that's his best scar.
Yeah. Yeah, stormtroopers see a Jedi, they should be like, I'm done.
So stormtroopers are more like numbers over.
Although to be
shit
fair,
power.
the clone troopers took out a lot of Jedi after Order 66. I know
Yeah, that's
by
what I'm-
surprise.
That's what I'm saying is it makes sense with stormtroopers having like no armor against like Jedi, but when stormtroopers are around, they're like no Jedi.
Oh,
So you'd want more something that's resistant to blaster shots.
Yeah, I've never. I
Like,
mean, I think in all honesty, that comes with the fact that when they first made the movies, they just needed to be able to shoot the stormtroopers. So
Yeah.
they wanted to look cool, but they had to be able to shoot through their armor, and then they have to sort of retcon like, well, they don't have armor that's really meant to stand up to a blaster. It's never really all that properly explained. Maybe it is at some point, but I've never really noticed. It's just that their armor doesn't stand up to blaster shots, which again kind of makes it pointless. It's just a uniform at that point.
Yeah.
It really is.
They might as well just be wearing overalls and a name tag. Hey, I'm
pretty sure they
Stormtrooper Bob.
practically
Hey, I'm FN2817. What?
We will talk about the new canon. Although I guess technically we are with this episode.
are. Yeah.
Although we've never
but-
seen 100% sure how this ties into all the new canon. We
Yeah.
know it's post-Jedi, but
Oh no, there's a different.
other than some theories about how this ties into Palpatine's resurrection and maybe the creation of Snoke, which really hasn't touched on anything in the new movies.
Which
at
is
all.
good.
Which is something a lot of people thought we were going to get, what we were building up to with these clones in the lab and whatnot, and we still may. That wasn't really resolved in this.
Look, the more we ignore the sequels, the better.
It's true.
Oh, I did want to say though, when Din and Grogu were watching Luke decimate those troopers together on the monitor there, just like a father and son watching Star Wars, I thought that was awesome. Because I watched Star Wars with my father, I watched Star Wars with you guys, my children, so I really did like that moment. But anyway, back to Luke. This is the Luke Skywalker. And it's just one part of the Luke Skywalker, I want to say. Obviously, there's way more to the character. He needs to be a more layered character. But when he's got to fight, he needs to be a fucking badass. He doesn't need to be that whiny bitch on Octo 2. Like, the Jedi are over.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get some power converters now.
It's like, oh, my nephew doesn't like me. I'm going to go run away.
Like I said, he's made a full circle with his character development in the last Jedi. He went from whiny little bitch to good character to whiny little bitch.
But I absolutely love this Luke. This moment should have made this my all-time favorite episode of anything Star Wars post Return of the Jedi. Even Rogue One. This should have trumped Rogue One because I thought Luke's scene with the Death Troopers, Dark Troopers, was just as good as Vader's scene with the Rebel Troopers. And the fact that it was Luke and it is my favorite character made it that much better. So this should have been the best ever. And Din Djarin, Cara Dune, the Mandalorians, Fennec Shand, they all survived. They got the ship. They beat Moff Tarkin. Listen to me, Moff Gideon. Even though they should have killed him, but
Should have. Had multiple chances.
Cara Dune says she wants his intelligence, and I get it. And I'm sure it's I don't mind keeping a good character around. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
If you have a chance to use that character in more interesting ways coming up, I get keeping them around. Within the context of the storyline, I get she won the intelligence, but he almost seems too dangerous to let live.
I agree.
But I digress. And again, Giancarlo Esposito is one of my favorite actors, so I'm not complaining about him still being around.
Yeah.
But we should have gotten, and they all, all the good guys survived. He was reunited with Grogu. Luke Skywalker's there. And it's not hashtag not my Luke like I got in the sequels. It's fucking my Luke Skywalker.
Hashtag my Luke.
It's the guy I role-played as out in the yard all the time and with my action figures, and then I read about in the extended universe, and then I absolutely adored.
Yeah.
It's the guy that inspired me to get drunk and feel like, I need to go help Luke. I'm a Jedi and I gotta help Luke.
Yeah.
That's a true story.
True story.
Based on a true story.
So this should have been my favorite episode, but now we're coming to that little 0.5% that I didn't care for.
Yep.
The Death Troopers are eradicated. They've watched the control room. They've watched this Jedi, obviously. And somebody even says, a Jedi? Come in and just destroy these Death Troopers that were there to kill them. But they still seem hesitant to let them in. And I get it to a degree. They're like, well, they beat the Death Troopers, but the enemy of my enemy is not necessarily my friend. Maybe they're going to come kill us too. But at the same time, those doors ain't going to stop it. Y'all watch what he just did to the Death Troopers, right? You really aren't going to keep them out that much longer.
And they do have a Beskar Mandalorian and a Darksaber.
And if you guys were scared of the Death Troopers, and he just did that to them, y'all ain't gonna stand much chance against him, so y'all might as well try to be as nice to him as possible.
It's true.
Hello, Mr. Jedi, please don't hurt us.
Oh, I should go back too. When the X-Wing first came in and landed, they cut to a shot of Grogu, and his ears like perked up, and you saw a connection. So it was pretty obvious that it was going to be a Jedi. And it's like, okay, this is the Jedi he talked to, or is it Ahsoka? Or who is it? Is it Luke? No, it can't be Luke. I did not want to believe it was Luke. I did not want to mark out, and then all of a sudden it's Ahsoka, and Ahsoka's great, but
she's not Luke.
We've seen her, and she's not my all-time favorite character. Oh, it's a new Jedi, and this is really cool, but it's, it could have been something else to me anyway.
Yeah. But instead, you got exactly.
But then Luke comes in, and it. But yeah, like I say, Baby Yoda had that connection, and Din picked up on it. It's like, open the door, and they're like, are you crazy? It's like, well, I mean, you saw what he did, but he insists, and he opens the door, and Luke comes in, and this is where it falls apart to me, and I feel like I may be nitpicking.
I feel like a lot of people agree.
As excited as I was for that scene, this didn't necessarily ruin it for me, but it took it from being my favorite moment in Star Wars to just, it was great, but... So obviously Grogu's going to go off and get trained by Luke.
Yeah.
That was Din Djarin's mission at this point. He was going to find a Jedi to train Grogu.
Mm-hmm.
That's all well and good, but Luke just comes in and he throws off the hood.
Yes.
And we've got this de-aged Mark Hamill. Apparently it was actually another actor playing it, and they just CGI'd his face like they did with Peter Cushing's face for Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One.
Mark also did the voice.
But regardless of any of that, and then he's just like, let's go, Grogu. He doesn't even introduce himself. Not once does he say his name to anybody. And there's this one little moment where he and Din look at each other and they nod their heads, and maybe he's communicating telepathically with Din. Because I know Jedis can speak to each other through the Force degree, and I mean, there's the Jedi mind trick. You can get into somebody else's mind to a degree, so maybe he could reassure him that way. But
maybe.
But
we don't know of it.
But what would have hurt? Just be like, I'm Luke Skywalker. He could just been like, hello, I'm Luke Skywalker. Are you a Jedi? Yes, I am. And then instead of just, let's go, Grogu, that sort of gruff, like, all right, come on. Instead of him coming in there like a...
Oh, yeah, did you not see what I just did?
Instead of him coming in there like he's a, New Republic Child Protective Services, I've come to take the child. He could have been like, hello, Grogu, there could have been a little more warmth to him. I get there's a serenity to Jedi Master Luke Skywalker, and he's not that, emotional kid he was when he left Tatooine, but there should still be a humanity to the character.
Yeah.
And the books always reflected that, and even in the sequels, he still has some humanity there, and in this, he's too staid and too stoic. It's like they were afraid if he talked too much, it was going to make the CGI look really bad, which it already looked kind of iffy. I got to admit, around the mouth and stuff. Not enough to make me hate it, and it's still remarkable what they can do, but it's almost like they felt like they could only do so much. And it was weird, because there was hardly any interaction with him. It's just like... And he did say, look, I'll give my life to protect the child, but he needs training. That's fine. I got no problem with that. This is where we were heading. But he never even tells Din what his name is. He gives him no idea where he's going. It's not like, come with us to see where he's going to be. Din says to Grogu, I'll see you again, I promise. But he can't fulfill that promise necessarily. He has no idea where he's going to be.
And what's Luke going to do? Give him his phone number?
And all there had to be was, when he said that, Luke could have nodded, or could have said, yes, you will, or you will, I promise. Just give us something to go on that we know Din's going to get to see Grogu again. And I know they're setting up this whole... We're taking back Mandalore thing, which is probably going to be what most of Season 3 is. And so Grogu wouldn't necessarily need to be with him the whole time, but there should be some setup. And don't even start to throw out to me, oh, well, that's the Jedi way. They take kids from their families. That's bullshit. It's absolute fucking bullshit. Yes, the Jedi go off to train away from their families, but they're not snatching them up from their families. They didn't steal fucking Anakin away from Shimon.
I was going to say,
they gave him a chance. They said, you want to get the fuck out of slavery and learn to use your powers? And he went with her blessing. He was afraid to go without her, and yeah, maybe they should have worked a little harder to make sure he had a chance to see her. But I mean, they weren't intentionally trying to keep him from her. They don't sit there and rob children from their families and try to indoctrinate them.
I mean, Anakin was also a special case. Most kids are like freaking 3-year-olds when they're taken.
And nobody ever says that they don't ever see their family or aren't with their family. I know in the past Jedi have, tried not to form connections, but that's more about friendships and romantic relationships, and not about you don't care for your family. And in the modern Jedi Order, Luke did away with a lot of that anyway. I mean, he had a wife and child.
I was gonna say, didn't they with Anakin? They talked, they explained, they provided information, and options and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. They were much more forthcoming with Shmi than Luke Luke in quotes because he never said his fucking name. Mysterious stranger. I'm fucking Buff Bagwell in Global Wrestling in 1990.
Lol.
91, but still, it's the handsome stranger. Who was that gloved Jedi? Anyway.
That was definitely.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I know there's that fucking cynical viewpoint where people want to say, "Oh, the Jedi are so bad; they're always taking kids." Well, that's not really true. That's a very particular point of view on it. And again, Luke's Jedi Order was never exactly the same way. He tried to do things better than the old Jedi. He looked at their mistakes and tried to correct them, even accepting that it is a mistake in the first place. And again, that's just a particular point of view and just something that people like to say when they want to be fucking cute and pick on something that a lot of people really like.
Yeah.
So don't throw that shit out at me because I'm not going to listen to it.
Okay.
I was talking to him. Because I know he wants to. But I feel like I've answered it. And I feel like deep in his heart... I feel like deep in his heart, he knows better also.
I mean, at least Luke didn't take a 3-year-old.
But
he took a 50-year-old.
But all I'm saying is, yeah, there should have been something else. And... don't get me wrong, it was a fantastic moment when he took the helmet off, when Grogu was reaching up for the helmet. And I even said it, he said, "Oh my god, is he going to take his helmet off?"
Yeah.
And he took his helmet off so Grogu could reach up and touch his face. And I didn't expect him to say, "Oh, I love you, kid." And Grogu would be like, "I don't love you," or something. And look, I get it. It's only going to go so far. All I want is that anchor, just that promise that yes, these two are going to see each other again, and it's not going to happen by happenstance. We know they're going to be together.
Yeah.
Luke could have even been like, "Could you guys have this Imperial? You guys have this nice. It wasn't a Star Destroyer, was it? It was another class of Imperial. You guys
That kind of looked like a Star Destroyer.
I feel like it was a slightly different class, but he's like, "You guys got this nice ship. Mind giving me a lift?" Or he could have been, and they had this really long, drawn out moment where Grogu's walking away with Luke, where Luke's technically carrying him, and he's looking back at Din, and Din's looking at him. And I thought from him he was going to be like, "Wait, I don't even know your name," or "Wait, how will I find the kid?" And he could have said something like that.
I expected something
and Luke
like
could have
that,
been like, and Luke could have been like, "I'll make sure it happens." And that's a terrible choice of words, but something to that effect. All I wanted was that one little thing to hold on to, that yes, Din Djarin and Grogu are not going to be separated forever. Okay, he's going to go off and get training, but they're still together, because I get, and I try to tell myself over and over, well, look, that was his mission. He never wanted to care for the kid exactly. He just felt like he needed to, and his whole goal was to get him to a Jedi that could take him in and train him.
Yeah.
So he accomplished it. But once Grogu got abducted in the episode that Boba Fett came back for real, and once Din was like, "We got to get the kid back," and once he sent that, awesome missive to Moff Gideon where he parroted back his words, and he means more to me than you'll ever know, and I'm coming to get him. I'm like, you could see how much he cared for Grogu at that point, and for him to just let him go like this, it bothers me.
It felt odd, and I don't know, it felt kind of odd for it to be like, okay, here's the big episode, they're going in, they're gonna go save Baby Yoda. Nope, Luke took him. They got 2 seconds together.
They did save him, and it's not like Luke.
Yeah, but it's just like, they got a whole 2 seconds together.
And yeah, I mean, I made the joke about, this, the New Republic Child Protective Service is taking him away, but I get it. I mean, Luke said he's going to protect him. He's going to train him. He needs the training. We all know that's where he should be. I just needed some anchor between those two, and not just the fact that they cared about each other, some concrete thing. Even Luke, like, "Hey, I uploaded my data to your ship," or something, I'll make sure you'll be able to find it.
I want my phone number on this piece of paper.
I'm kind of... I don't know if you noticed, but
Why don't Jedi's have phones?
They have, like, data pads and stuff they can use, and they communicate through, like, the holograms that we've seen, But, I don't know if you noticed, but speaking as Luke, I'm kind of powerful. I'll make sure you can find him. I'm not going to let him, I know he's attached to you. I understand how important attachment is. I know what happened with my father when he got separated from his mom. I'm going to learn from history. I'm not going to let that shit happen again. Kind of happened to my family. I know I should know better.
Yeah.
But again, he never even fucking introduced himself. He never once said, even I'm Luke.
Yeah.
I'm Master Skywalker. I'm fucking leader of the New Republic, Princess Leia's brother. Han Solo? Millennium Falcon? That's my brother-in-law.
Well, if someone doesn't know Luke, then if you know Luke, it's really cool. But if you don't know Luke, then it's like, who's that? So it's a cool thing for people who do know Luke. It's like, hey, that's Luke. And
somebody's watching a Star Wars property who doesn't know who Luke fucking is.
I mean, maybe. Maybe they never watched the first 3.
I have a lot of questions.
Speaking of...
Maybe they're just getting into it, the Mandalorian.
Did you notice at some point after Luke had come in, they cut to Cara Dune, kind of like... I think Cara might know who Luke is, which would make sense. If she was part of the rebellion, she should know Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Not necessarily know him personally, but I mean,
No,
at the very least, He's the hero who blew up the first Death Star. Everybody in the rebellion should fucking know who he is.
Yeah.
But then again, he didn't say his name, so you might not recognize him, which that just infuriates me to no end. And for the most part, this series has been so well crafted. That to me is just one of the things in this that was so slipshod and so shoddy. It's like, really? He's not even going to say his name? Never mind the way he was kind of gruff with Grogu, like, come on, Grogu.
Yeah, I agree.
Not like, hello, Grogu. Yeah, I was going to get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
But, well, again, speaking of people who may know each other, Grogu still even though, Luke was like, Din Djarin said he doesn't want to go with you, and he's like, no, he wants your permission, and Din was like, it's okay, and I did like that moment, it was like, don't be afraid. So again, we're trying to separate, we're trying to say, this is not an Anakin situation, we're going to do it better this time, even though they did some things worse.
Yeah.
But he still seemed reluctant to go, and then R2 comes in, which at the time I was like, oh, that's cool, it's R2. But in retrospect, I'm glad he was there, because I have to admit, 3 days after this, I've been like, R2 should have fucking been there. He would have had to have an astromech to fly his X-Wing. I know it's fucking R2. They're joined at the hip, just like R2.
Do you need an astromech to fly an X-Wing?
It's pretty important. I think maybe you can do it without it, but you're going to lose some functionality. And especially if you're going to do long-range flights, I think you really need one.
Uh-huh.
But anyway. But yeah, so I think at some point afterwards, if R2 hadn't been there, like, they should have showed R2. He would have been with Luke.
Yeah.
But I'm also thinking, at first it's like, oh, Grogu's a kid and he really likes this droid. Or
it's like the noise and
or maybe R2.
whatnot.
I mean, some people can understand
like
R2.
toy.
Some people can't.
Yeah.
Maybe Grogu could and R2's reassuring him. And that's fine too. But maybe they know each other already. Because Grogu goes back to the Jedi Temple before Order 66. So does R2. R2 would have been in the temple all the time because he was with Anakin all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there's a chance they actually know each other already. And I mean, just because Ahsoka didn't know him, again, everybody who's in the temple doesn't necessarily know everybody else who's ever in the temple.
Yeah.
But there's a and even if her master knew him, it doesn't necessarily mean she did. They weren't always together. They went on different missions and they had different experiences. So I think it's very possible that they actually know each other. And so again, so there's a potential Cara Dune-Luke connection, and there's a potential Grogu R2 connection. Those are neat little things, but again, there's just so much in this last bit that was wrong to me, and a lot of it is story, and some of it's production, and like I say, failing to have Luke introduce himself seems like a major oversight. Even if the gruffness, the not giving the details, that's like the most obvious thing to me.
Maybe he's a freaking everyone knew him.
but that's not really the way things have been set up, and like Din didn't even know who Jedi were or anything. They're still just coming back into existence. They're not. They're not.
You don't know who I am.
They're not all Star Wars fans. It's not like you've all seen the DVDs, right? You got the special edition, the one where don't believe it though. Han did shoot first, but that was again that was sort of in the writing, but there were some production moments I didn't like right before that when Luke's coming in, and this is again some of the I hate to say shoddy because obviously it's extremely well made, but it just seemed a notch below what we're used to. When Luke does that crush with his gloved hand, he'd had the lightsaber in that hand, and then he didn't, and the next shot he's got it back in that hand. Yes, he could move it quickly. I get it, but there was no reason.
He just forced teleported between hands.
But there was absolutely no reason for him to, and it looks strange.
Yeah.
Just like when Din brings Moff Gideon in, he's got a bloody mouth, and through several shots he's talking, he's got that bloody mouth. And then once the Death Troopers are coming back, and he's all excited about the fact that, hey, they're going to kill you all, and I'm going to win, it's like all the blood's gone.
Interesting.
It's like, how did he clean up? His hands were tied up.
He cleaned up the excitement. Oh yeah, the Death Trooper come back, blood go away.
And then in the scene where Din Djarin takes his helmet off, and he's holding it down by his side, I thought it would have been awesome if he just dropped it, and you actually saw it close up and saw it hit the floor to show that, like, look, he cares about this kid more than anything he ever has. It was so important for him not to take his helmet off. He did it once for the kid already, where some people could see it, but now he's doing it in front of, other people. And obviously, it's important. I thought that would have been cool, but it's fine they didn't do it. That's just a personal preference. But the
I thought
fact
it was
is,
Boba Fett with that one. So I'm like, oh god, that's awkward.
but the fact, well, I don't know that Boba would care. I don't know if Boba takes his helmet off or not. Probably. But
No, I mean that like Boba and Luke being there.
Oh yeah, but again, that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about right now.
Yeah,
so you probably could have saved that for a better point in this conversation. Is all I'm saying.
I'm not good at talking
But
in conversation.
again, it's a personal preference that I thought that would have been a cool shot. They didn't do it. That's fine. I'm not complaining about that. But we only really saw him hold his arm down at his side. By the time he sets Grogu down, his helmet is sitting perfectly right side up on the floor beside him.
Mm-hmm.
And again, when did he do that? We never saw that happen.
It's a
We never
ball
heard
flip
it
that hit the
before.
cushioning on the inside.
And you don't think Beskar would have fucking made noise hitting the
It
deck?
would have.
Like I said, hit the cushioning on the inside.
So those are just some of those little things that it's like, really?
Yeah.
So those are things I was talking about earlier in the spoiler-free section. But again, most of my issues with this are story-wise, and it's just that we didn't get that conclusion is not the right word, but we didn't get that what's the word I'm looking for? You know, when you have to oh my god, I hate to blank right now. Can you guys say
I don't know, because you were like, when you have to, and it's like, when you have to what?
Closure, that's what it was. We didn't get the closure between them. Like, yeah, I mean, they had that nice tender moment and everything, and it was beautiful, but
It wasn't the closure we were looking
how much more
for.
beautiful would it have been if we at least knew that? And I mean, I guess Din saying, "I promise you we're going to see again," is supposed to let us all know it's going to happen, and Luke not contradicting it. But I really would have liked Luke to confirm it.
We're gonna. I promise we're gonna say that. No, actually not.
Yeah, and again, he didn't say that, so I guess it's going to happen. But I just needed just a slight bit more.
Yeah.
And look, there were other things too. Like, I mean, the whole Darksaber thing is left unresolved. The whole storyline with the clones and what they were doing in the lab and what they were doing with the blood, that's unresolved. So
Yeah.
there's a lot that was left unresolved, and I get it's setting up season 3, and I'm fine with that for the most part. But for this to be the finale, and we built toward this big conclusion, I just needed a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree.
The truth is, most of my complaints and most of my questions are going to be answered come season 3.
Probably.
Almost definitely. Hell, they're probably going to be answered when we see the first trailer for season 3.
Also possible.
We're going to see that, and we're going to see Din and Grogu together at one point. We're going to see some conflict over the Darksaber. We're going to see some notes about what this cloning technology is. So, I mean, all this is going to be answered. The problem is, season 3 is not going to have it for another year.
Yeah.
I want the 12 for season 3 to end.
Season 3?
Yeah.
Season 3 to end with a little Yoda hand-to-hand lightsaber igniting.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I hope
gosh.
we get to see
That'd be
Grogu. I
epic.
hope we get to see Grogu with a lightsaber.
It makes sense.
But regardless, I mean, anytime a year is a long time to wait when it comes to a piece of pop culture,
Yeah.
In the current environment, some of us might not be around a year from now, which, I mean, is a terrible way to think. And I mean, obviously, like, look, the world still goes on. You got to do things the way you're going to do it. But I'm just saying, don't give me this sort of a finale where so much is open-ended and then make me wait a year for anything, because I had a lot invested in this show emotionally. As a Star Wars fan, as somebody who didn't even care that much about The Mandalorian when I first started watching it, and who really fell in love with it and thinks it's one of the best pieces of Star Wars they've done, certainly since Disney acquired the universe, the franchise. I guess the franchise is correct, but
Definitely the best Disney Star Wars thing.
I mean, to me, this episode is like so much of the year 2020. It's like you get something good, but your excitement for it has to be tempered. And it's like, well, it's good, but next year it's going to be really good.
Yeah.
So it's
that
just a
sounds like
shitty
2020.
way to go out. It's like we could have this one good thing to finish out this godforsaken year. And I know I'm overstating pop culture, and it's just a stupid TV show or a streaming show or, a sci-fi series or another piece of Star Wars. And it's great that we all love it, but in the end, it does mean something. It means something to a lot of people in many different ways. It's a job to some people, or a career, or it's just entertainment or escapism or something to talk about with your friends or on a podcast. So I'm not trying to overstate it or understate it.
Yeah.
I'm simply pointing out that I've loved so much of what they've done, and then to almost get Star Wars Nirvana with this. But then to have it pulled back, and now to spend a year feeling frustrated at this, and like, damn it, y'all gave me the Luke Skywalker I've wanted to see in a visual Star Wars medium post-Jedi, and I've never gotten that. I've only gotten in the books.
Yeah.
But then you punched me in the gut with the way he came in and just took Grogu, and there wasn't a proper, exchange of information there.
Yeah.
We needed just a little bit more, and that taints everything so much, and I hate it. And it bothers me so much, because I wanted to love this so much. And y'all saw me up on my chair so excited for Luke, and then, nope.
You loved it up until that moment.
And I'm trying really hard not to hate it. Like I said, I try to tell myself, this is what Din Djarin wanted, And logically, as a fan of, they're not going to get rid of Grogu, and they're not going to get rid of the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
They're both going to be there, and they know they're both part of the success of the show. And even if they feel like they need to dial Grogu back a little bit so he doesn't get overexposed, we're going to see him, and we're going to see him together. There was no point in him saying we're going to see each other again. I promise you, if we're not going to see him together again. So realistically, I know they're going to be together again.
Yeah.
But canonically, within their world, I needed to be given a little bit more. And I didn't get it. And as much as I love what Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have done, and as good an episode as Peyton Reed directed, and as great as the groundwork that's been laid by people like Robert Rodriguez, who directed that great Boba Fett episode, and Taika Waititi, who did the season finale that I loved in the first part, as much as they've all done great, I just needed that little bit more. And I don't feel like I'm being picky when I'm asking for that.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of people have been talking about and wishing that last bit with Luke and Baby Yoda and whatnot would have been better, a little more to it. You know, had he given them information, or there had just been something else. I've seen a lot of people.
Yeah, and don't misunderstand. I don't mind that he went off with Luke. That's what we wanted.
Yeah,
that was the mission.
Everybody's excited.
I just needed in that moment too to solidify the connection between Din and Grogu.
Yeah,
and I get maybe that's what they were going for. They wanted to pull at the heartstrings and say maybe they're never going to see each other again. But I just think that's a shitty way to finish such a great episode. And you give such great fan service to everybody who loved the original trilogy and grew up with Luke Skywalker as their hero, like I did.
Yeah.
By bringing him back, but then you give such shitty fan service to everyone who's a fan of this, and it's not like the inclusion of Luke ruins anything in the series. He fit in perfectly.
Definitely.
It's just the way they handle that interaction sort of screwed over everybody who's been so emotionally invested in the relationship between Din Djarin and Grogu. And unfortunately, I fall into both camps, so I can't be satisfied just getting part of that. I need the fan service in both.
It's still a great episode.
I agree. I'm booked.
It was a good episode that. For 99.5%
you said it was like top 4.
I said probably, and
I said I couldn't.
That's top 25%.
But you know what? I can't confirm that until I see what happens next season. Until I know for sure that everything works out with
top
Jen and Grogu.
Yeah, there's some stuff that was probably set up for season 3, so we kind of need to see season 3.
So it's top 4 with an asterisk. I reserve the right to move it to the bottom depending on what happens. Even though logically as a viewer, I know everything's going to work out to a degree at least. I mean, for all I know, Grogu or Din Djarin or both are not even going to survive at the end of the series. They may both die.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think they
just
will.
Rogue One it.
They can never kill Grogu.
I think they will, be reunited to a degree. And I don't think they're going to separate them for good. And again, there's no reason to write that. We will see each other again, I promise, and have nobody on screen contradict it if that's not going to happen. So logically, I know that. But just with trying to suspend disbelief and be completely absorbed into the story, I needed just a little bit more, and I didn't get it. And it really pisses me off because I really want to love this episode, and I just can't.
Yeah, you just said never kill, they can't kill Baby Yoda, Grogu, whatever. But I just wanted to point out that, there's a lot of theories going around right now talking about it. One of my friends, though, pointed out saying that Baby Yoda was around and survived Darth Vader. There's no way, and this is exactly what they said. There's no way he's going to get killed by an emo with a glow stick.
Yeah, he survived Anakin and killing all the younglings. He survived Order 66.
We have no idea how he survived any of that.
He survived the entirety of the Empire.
Know,
Kylo's real training is probably not going to be for another 10 years or so I don't know how much he and Grogu are really going to overlap.
Grogu might be like
10 years from now, he'd be like 14.
And like you say, I hope they don't really even reference the new trilogy that much. I'd be fine if they just retconned it and made this a different fucking continuity altogether.
Yes,
Same.
please.
But there's always
I doubt Disney
there's always the
would do
possibility it's going to go that far, but there's always a good possibility it's not either. There's the possibility that they don't have to either ignore it or confirm it. They could always just we ain't going to get that far. We got
they
years to cover that don't cover that. And even in that case, there's my nephew Ben, and then he moves the fuck on him.
Yeah, I was going to say, if they want to take this into it, but like not too much, they could have like some throwaway thing like that, or literally just have a quick clip of like Baby Yoda and a young who you see and think might be a young Kylo, but never actually say that it is, So it's like, that could be,
but we're
not going to say it is.
Not only that, Disney did what they wanted to do with those movies,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean Disney's anything set in stone, and they can't, they're the ones that decide to make what's now considered Legends canon not part of the real canon. They could always decide, you know what? We're going to retcon that shit. People didn't really like those movies. Let's go in another direction. Everybody loves this Mando. We're going to follow that on, and we're going to give people what they really want.
Yeah.
Little do we know.
But we just know that they're not going to throw away Baby Yoda too easily because that's a moneymaker right there.
Little do we know the real reason Kylo turned dark was because Baby Yoda stole his food one time. I mean, Grogu.
You fought so hard not to say Baby Yoda. I don't think I've referred him to that once during this episode, and you even chastised her for saying it, and then you're going to Baby Yoda.
I corrected myself at least.
I normally say Baby Yoda just because I like saying it.
Caesar
better.
doesn't care.
I just like saying it better.
There was also one moment, too, I meant to address when Luke's holding Grogu and he shares a look with him, and so the light of understanding sort of shines behind Luke's eyes for a minute.
Uh-huh.
And, of course, he doesn't fucking say anything, because of course he doesn't. He barely said anything. I thought for a moment maybe it was going to be like, you're Yoda's kid. or maybe just like...
That's still my personal thing.
Or maybe just like, I knew your father. And that would have been like a moment where like, oh!
That would have been like, oh, fuck.
Which is not to say that he needs to be Yoda's kid.
No.
That's still my
But
personal
it still would have been a moment where fans would be like, oh my fucking god. I mean, of course, people would have spent a year theorizing, is it Yoda? Or did Luke know another one like Yoda? Or did Obi-Wan hook up with Yaddle or something? So I'm just saying, it would have been an interesting moment. And again, season 3, that look could come back and we could get an explanation. We just didn't, they just left so much unsaid. And sometimes that's great. This time, I think it caused the episode to fall short.
I agree.
That's also Yoda's secret child.
I've rewatched the scene a half a dozen times. Luke cutting down the Death Troopers is fan-fucking-tastic. What happens afterward, not so much. And there are beautiful moments in it. It's not poorly done. I just think it's a poor choice.
Yeah.
Alright, well, I guess we've hammered this enough. You guys have anything else you want to say about the Mandalorian finale? Or the Mandalorian in general?
I mean,
the post.
I was going to say, are we going to discuss post-credits?
So, this episode ended, but there were like 8 minutes left on the counter, and we're like, what the hell happened in the last 8 minutes of the episode? But if you stick to the credits, you know part of that is a post-credit scene featuring Boba Fett and Fennec Shand taking over Jabba's palace from, oh my god, I forgot his name all of a sudden. What's his name? Bib Fortuna.
Yeah.
The Twi'lek. Although I've heard it said Twi'lek, but I always say Twi'lek. That's how
I think it's both.
That's how I've always read it.
Way.
That's how I'm going to say it. I apologize if it's incorrect, but
I think it's either way.
He's apparently taken over. You see Boba Fett and Fennec Shand come in and blast his guards, and then Boba Fett shoots him and throws him off the throne and sits down, and Fennec sits behind him like his bodyguard.
Yeah.
And then we just get the Book of Boba Fett coming December 2021. And I mean, I thought we knew there was going to be a Boba Fett series, even if we didn't have a name for it.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
But I'm definitely excited for more Boba Fett, but I didn't like this introduction, because it's like, so we got, and again, I know Boba Fett is a self-serving prick. He's like that in the books that I love too, even though he softens a bit. So I'm fine with getting that Boba Fett for the most part, but we saw at least some honor behind Boba Fett when he's like, they took the kid, we promised you he'd be safe, we're coming with you to make sure he's safe. But now it's like, so he's what? He's going to go back to Tatooine and be a gangster?
He's gonna do his own thing.
Because that's what Jabba was. He was a gangster, so he's just going to take over the underworld of Tatooine. You're right.
Just because he takes over the power.
We don't know. We have no idea what he's going to do. And maybe there was some... I know there were some connections between Boba and Jabba, so maybe there's some reason that Boba felt like the palace was his.
Yeah.
You know, we'll have to see it in the series, but I just... There's some reasons that I don't love that either. I don't...
But it's exciting.
Well, I mean, a Boba Fett series is exciting. That little scene didn't really make me excited for it. But yeah, we'll see. And of course, I guess I wish we'd gotten more. I thought maybe we could get multiple post-credit scenes when I saw it. Like maybe, okay, then we're going to see Din going to the planet and seeing Baby Yoda. We're going to see Bo-Katan on her mission to do whatever, or agonizing over what to do about the Darksaber. We're going to see what Cara Dune does. We're going to, I thought we were going to get some more updates on these characters, but nope, fuck all that. And the only reason I think we got the Boba Fett thing is because it's going to actually come out before season 3 of The Mandalorian. So
about season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Season 3 of The Mandalorian is supposed to come out Christmas 2021.
I've heard that's gonna come out.
Well,
about the same time.
In time for Christmas.
Right after the show, I wrote a post that said it was coming out Christmas 2021, and it had been posted like 7 hours before that.
I heard that it's coming out in time for Christmas.
Well, like I say,
Well, they're both coming out December 21.
If it does come out beforehand, that makes sense why they had to give the Boba Fett update. Because otherwise, then you're going to see the Boba Fett series and like, oh, how did he get there? Well, that's weird. We were expecting to see him in Mandalorian. So I get why we got that and nothing else. Since that series will probably come out first. Or even if Mandalorian came out first, at least then you know where Boba Fett and Fennec Shand went. So either way, I think it's because both series are coming out around the same time. But it would have been cool to see some... Again, remember the last scene of Shawshank Redemption? Remember Andy's working on his boat and Red's walking down the beach and there's no words or anything, but Andy sees him, he jumps off the boat to go embrace him and they pull back. And, we could have had a scene like that with Din and Baby. Din landing his new ship on, Yavin 4 or Endor or wherever Luke set up to train at this point.
Yeah.
And then he and Baby... Wouldn't that have been fucking amazing?
It would have been.
Where is the Jedi?
But I feel as though we can't entirely judge this until next season. Because for all we know, we're going to see next season and we might see, that might be why they didn't want to do it.
It's on Yavin 4, I'm pretty sure. Okay. It's either on Yavin or actually Yavin 4, because there's like an old Jedi temple there. Well, and at one point he later in the series, of course, they're using the Jedi temple on Coruscant again too.
You'd think I should know this since I've played Star Wars Jedi Academy in which your Jedi's being trained there. And I've read part of the Little Jedi Knights books thing now.
Young Jedi Knights?
Yeah, Young Jedi Knights book.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Most
of the books are good. Even the couple of new canon books I've read are decent. But they don't hold a candle with the Legends canon as far as I'm concerned. Okay, I did want to really quickly, if we're going to be done with Mandalorian, and again, if you haven't seen the episode and you really care about it, I don't know why you listen to us talk about it first. I hope we didn't ruin it for you, but it's definitely worth seeing.
Yes.
And again, I don't hate it, and a year from now, I'm probably going to really love it.
Yes.
But I hate being made to wait a year to really fully embrace something.
Yes.
That I should have just been over the moon about.
Yes.
Something that I can either embrace or disavow now was the Lego Star Wars Christmas special.
Yes.
Yeah. Not a Lego retelling of the infamous one, although that would have been amazing.
That would have been.
This is a brand new story featuring mainly new canon characters, Rey and Finn and Poe.
And Pugs!
And Rose and Chewbacca, who actually dies at one point in the Legends canon, but he's like the only one there, one to let alive. It's like, the new generation hates all the old people, but Chewbacca.
he fake died.
Yeah, but I actually kind of enjoyed this. I thought it was fun. It had that same sort of manic energy and sort of wit that most of the Lego productions do. If you've seen any of the other Lego shorts, if you've played any of the Lego video games.
Yeah.
I don't think it's I think it's sort of like the Dragon Ball movies where it's within the canon, but it's not necessarily canon itself.
Yeah.
That sort of seemed to be the tone of it. One interesting thing in it, though, is Rey is training Finn to be a Jedi.
Yes.
You can't be a Jedi if you're not Force sensitive. And there are people who are slightly Force sensitive, but not enough so to be Jedis. But you ain't trained to be a fucking Jedi unless you're Force sensitive. So unless they're completely retconning that, and if they are, I have a huge problem with it. Because you can't be a fucking Jedi without the Force. You need to be able to manipulate the Force or work with the Force.
I mean, you can wield a lightsaber, but you just can't.
But she's not training him to wield a lightsaber specifically. They are working with a lightsaber, but they specifically say he's being trained to be a Jedi. So does that mean that Finn is Force sensitive? Have I missed something here?
I know that was at least the original plan for Finn.
There's been theories about it, and there's been talk about it, but did they ever actually state that somewhere that he's Force sensitive? Because that would be amazing.
That's the original plan.
I don't think they've stated
it. It's like, why the fuck didn't we get that in the movie? That would have been great.
And after The Force Awakens, Finn to went downhill.
But so that's really cool, and if they ever explore that in other media, I'd be down for that. But as it was cute, and like a lot of jokes and stuff, and there's time travel and dimensional travel.
At one point, you just get everyone.
You get to see a lot of the classic Star Wars moments through the Lego lens.
And you get 3 Obi-Wans at one point.
At least.
And that's fun.
And there's multiple Lukes and.
I do question the one Obi-Wan's hairstyle made in Lego foam.
Which one?
The one where he's got like the side thing.
When he's got like the short hair, but he's got the braid on the side.
Yeah, I question why. Because in the Lego figure, they just gave him the short hair and then printed the rest onto his clothes. And it's like, why didn't they just like attach it to his head, you know?
That would have been a pretty unique hairstyle.
Yeah.
They don't change up the hairstyles too much. They pretty much use the same ones.
Yeah, but I just feel like they should have done it, you know? I mean, like, I feel like if Lego made Elsa, they'd give her side braid thing. So they could have done a little thing for Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is also now. Anyway.
And also poke fun the sequels a bit. This was fine.
Yeah, Lego always does that though.
Yeah.
I love Lego.
The Lego.
The Lego stuff is
It's
super
best.
good.
Lego knows how to make something.
I really like the games. I like the games before they had voice
But
dialogue mainly. I mean, still
the-
with voice dialogue, they're fine, but before voice dialogue, it was better.
The holiday special thing in Lego form.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. That the original one is that's actually the first appearance of Boba Fett.
I said that earlier.
Yeah, because he was in Star Wars, like I say, but got cut out. So that was actually apparently where. And I've never seen it. I've only seen clips of it.
Nice.
I'd love to actually have a full copy of it.
Yes.
I might could find one if I was willing to look hard enough. Or
Yeah.
Maybe it's not even that hard. I just never bothered to look. But I had a good time watching this one again because I know it's not really canon. I wish it didn't focus so much on just the newer characters who, I mean, they're
Same.
fine. I don't have a problem with new characters being introduced and even being spotlighted. I don't think they handled them very well. It's tough to judge the characters because they're only as good as they were written and acted and directed. And
Yeah.
the acting was fine enough. I think they gave whatever the directors wanted, but I've never been that impressed with the new characters. I think they could have, if they used them from the books, it would have been better. But it is what it is. And again, it's not canon. It's just a fun little holiday thing, and it was nice. A little bit for the end of the year. It does seem again though, like I say, like hey, all the new characters are so much better. Nobody cares about the old characters. They're all dumb except Chewbacca. So I mean, you guys are new generation Star Wars fans. Do y'all only like the new characters and hate all the old characters that I loved? And is just Chewbacca for some reason?
No.
He's the oldest one of all. He's like 200.
He is one of my favorites, but no.
I also like shirtless Kylo in it.
That was. It's funny and very, very bad.
Palpatine and Vader into
Vader.
Kylo's closet.
Vader was quite funny.
I thought the Charles Kylo jokes were a little tired, to be honest with you.
But,
And Vader getting Palpatine, the #1 Emperor monk.
Yeah.
Old Steve Palpatine's got chains his back.
There was a lot.
Yeah, that was almost a little Christmas Carol-ish with Scrooge, like, I'm gonna change, I'm gonna honor Christmas,
Yeah.
except he's falling down into a reactor.
Yeah. But, and how Vader was, for a good bit, traveling with Luke before the whole thing.
Who had blue milk with him the entire time.
Yeah.
I mean, blue milk is Star Wars canon.
Yeah.
Don't usually see it being drunk straight out of the teat of a space walrus, but
Yeah. But, also the two Hans together.
yeah. And Greedo, he's like, you want to shoot first, or you want to shoot first?
Yeah.
No, they did some nice. Anything, any of these Lego productions are usually going to be good. Like I say,
I do very much like the pugs. I would like to say one of them is scarred for life.
Yes. Yes, it is.
we'll let you watch the special to find out why.
Yeah.
But isn't that canon they can like time travel with kyber crystals?
Was that a kyber crystal?
I mean, the low key there seemed to be a bundle of kyber crystals, but that
It looked like one crystal, like it was taped up for some reason.
Yeah.
but then and at the end she got like a bunch of kyber crystals throughout the cave and used them to.
They never specifically said they were kyber crystals.
They seem to be kyber.
It doesn't mean there
crystals.
can't be other kind of crystals in the universe.
Plus it's Lego.
And the Darksaber made with the kyber crystal.
I told you I don't know about the history of the Darksaber. You'd have to go research.
Yeah.
maybe that's that.
Anyway, if you haven't, if you came back in just for the end here after checking out the spoilers, or if you listened to our recap of it, whatever my complaints are, it's worth seeing. You got to see it if you're a Star Wars fan, if you're a Mandalorian fan. Don't ignore it, but be prepared for perhaps some mixed feelings, like I had.
Yeah.
I still have. Like I said, I haven't been able to get it off my mind. It's probably going to be great as the years pass, but for right now, I'm just.
Yeah.
It wasn't exactly a miss, but it wasn't quite a home run. It fell just short. It got the runners in that were on base, so they got the win, but it just didn't quite. It wasn't quite as dramatic as it could have been, or maybe they just tied it up. We're going into extra innings now. That's what we're going into extra innings because we got to wait till next year.
Yeah.
And I guess we're going to end on that sort of ham-fisted metaphor.
Okay.
So, hope y'all enjoyed this little bit of, it's not really a bonus pod, it's an official pod, but we weren't going to do any new episodes. We're going to finish up the year with our countdown like we promised. We might have a special announcement coming with the last of those episodes, and we will be back, and if not better than ever, at least as good as we always are in 2021. Hope everybody has a happy holiday and a happy new year, and that we all get through this and there's something better on the other side.
Yes.
Yes.
So on that note, come back next month when the conversation will continue. But until then, I am will continue to be Maddie.
Lexi.
Dylan.
Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel where we're uploading our top 5 this year, plus some other episodes. We're eventually going to have the whole catalog up there, but it is a work in progress. And of course, you can always go back and check out the archive and check us out. Our gaming videos and whatnot on YouTube. We're all over the place. We're trying to give you as much entertainment as possible, and hope that you're enjoying it because we enjoy doing it. But on that note, we gave our names, right?
Yes.
So I guess this is LexiCon concluded for 2020.
Bye.